Now there are people that openly says that the removal of Palestinians from Gaza is the way forward, and rebuilding the settlements, and it will be eventually it is ethnic cleansing if this is the direction that Israel is taking. When you mentioned the move to other camps, there are no other camps for them to move, because most of the houses, around 70% of the houses in Gaza, have been badly damaged.
Israel says the first stages of its military operation to capture Gaza City, the last significant remnant of Gaza not controlled by the IDF, are now underway. Troops have moved into the outskirts of the city, and it's prompted UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to renew calls for an immediate ceasefire to avoid further death and destruction. Israel says Gaza City, where up to 1 million Palestinians are said to be sheltering, is a stronghold of governmental and military terror for Hamas. We're joined now by Professor Yossi Mekelberg, Senior Consulting Fellow with the Middle East and North Africa Program at Chatham House. Yossi Mekelberg, why is Benjamin Netanyahu seemingly speeding up this Gaza City massive assault operation, even as the level of international alarm and condemnation grows?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. There might be different reasons for that. One is operational, of course, what the recommendation by the IDF and other branches of the security forces. There are political reasons for this. Actually, as it seems that there is some progress in negotiations with Hamas, and which we are not so sure that Prime Minister Netanyahu is interested in any deal right now, is actually making the situation even worse.
But hang on, let's take this bit by bit. First of all, you say perhaps the Gaza City operation is being speeded up because of military advice. That seems strange to me, because we know that senior commanders inside the IDF do not think this operation is wise, and they have told Netanyahu that.
Well, to begin with, you're absolutely right. We know that Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, the chief of staff, was against it. But the minute that the decision was made, at the end of the day, the military is bound to listen and to follow what the government asks you to do, or he has, of course, the option to resign. From then on, it moves to a different sphere of operational, how you operationalize the decision by the government.
Right.
Not that I'm suggesting this was the right decision to do, to enter into Gaza, but operational.
No, I understand. I do understand what you're saying. The army didn't want to do it, but if they have to do it, if that is their order, that if they're not going to resign, then they have to figure out the most effective way of doing what they think is a mistaken thing to do. I get that. Then let's get to your point about the politics of this and Netanyahu being faced with a choice, because it seems the Egyptians and the Qataris have got Hamas to agree to a 60-day ceasefire during which they would release half of the 50 hostages, both living and dead, in return for the release of some Palestinians detained in Israeli prisons. And Netanyahu has pushed for that kind of deal in the past, and now he appears not to want it. I mean, that is a very strange for the Israeli Prime Minister, a strange position for him now to be in.
I mean, all the way that Netanyahu is handling that is bizarre. This is the same prime minister that was ready to release more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners for one hostage at the time, Gilad Shalit. Now, where there are opportunities to do, this deal in one stroke, he was against it, when it seems that Hamas was in favor of it for the end of war. Now that it seems that Hamas is ready for at least two-stage agreement, then we get the opposite, that Netanyahu insists on a one-stroke decision. We are entitled to be very suspicious about the real motives, or what are whether there are ulterior motives for Netanyahu, because you mentioned earlier that the recommendation of the IDF. The IDF said the chief of staff said, if we are going for this operation, this campaign, it's almost, giving up on the hostages, which we know that most Israelis, their priority is the release of the hostages in the price of ending the war. So he keeps changing this, which suggests that there is a possibility that he want to sabotage a deal, because this is what the ultra-right, that he depends on them in government, would like him to do.
Exactly. I mean, exactly the point. Isn't it becoming obvious, and Western governments probably need to sort of accept and consider this, that what we are going to see is the IDF obviously move through Gaza City. They have the power to do it. They will do it if they so choose. They will then occupy every inch of Gaza. The population of Gaza, the 2 million or so people who've managed to survive the last 2 years, will be in camps, held in camps, and the Israeli government will basically be, it seems, delivering a message. They will say to the Palestinian people, if you continue to defy us, we will destroy you. If you are prepared to leave, we will help you leave, and many in the outside world would call that ethnic cleansing. Or if you choose to stay, you will have to accept a situation where you live in a Jewish state, i.e. we will ultimately annex Gaza. You will live in a Jewish state, and you will not have the same rights as the Jewish population of Israel. Isn't that where we are going to end up?
Well, you summed it up. I mean, that if you go and look at what the ultra-right in Israel said, and they are in position of power. 20 years ago, exactly 20 years ago, when Israel disengaged and demolished, evacuated the settlements, all the idea in order to sort of resolve or improve the demographic situation between the Israel and Palestinians is leaving Gaza. Even the blockade was a different form of occupation. Now there are people that openly says that the removal of Palestinians from Gaza is the way forward, and rebuilding the settlements. And it will be eventually, it is ethnic cleansing if this is the direction that Israel is taking. When you mentioned the move to other camps, there are no other camps for them to move, because most of the houses, around 70% of the houses in Gaza, have been badly damaged. Some of these people have been already displaced 5-6 times during the war, and we're talking about nearly in Gaza City right now, roughly half of the population of Gaza resides there. Where are they going to move?
Well, that is a hugely important question, and the next few hours and days will tell us what happens. Yossi Mekelberg from Chatham House, thank you very much for joining us on The Times at 1.